So like I mentioned earlier, today we are going to start off by going over how to animate an item when we hover over it with our mouse. So you'll notice that as I hover over these blurbs, they move. And that's called, when we put the mouse over something that's hovering, and then when it moves, that's called transformation or animation. So let's just play with this Amory Area Volunteer Opportunity blurb right here, because I can tell that it's clickable, but my mouse changes into a clickable mouse when I hover over it, but it doesn't move. So that is in conflict with these other blurbs that do animate when I hover over them. So it seems like this one can't be clicked, but it can. So what I'm going to do is click Enable Visual Builder. Now these same controls should be available on the Classic Builder or the Back End Builder, but I'm going to work in the Visual Builder today just because it's faster. You know what you're most comfortable with, so you might decide to work on the Classic Builder or the Back End Builder or the Visual Builder if you're feeling brave. So while the page loads up with all the Visual Builder controls, I'm going to scroll down. And here's the blurb that we want to animate. So I'm going to click on the settings wheel. And here are the blurb settings. First I'm going to give it a title so it looks like the other blurbs. So I just put this text in here, and Ellen can change this later, but I put that text in here. What I did is I made this blurb appear just like these other ones do here. And it looks like the title text needs to be a little bit bolder, so I'm going to semi-bold it. There we go, so now it matches. And it's the 4th. Okay. So I click the settings wheel, I click on design, then we're going to scroll down to transform, not animation, we're going to go down to transform. When you hover over the transform title text area here, you'll see a mouse icon. And when I click on that, it's going to give us controls for hover or default. So I'm going to choose hover. And now I just know this after experimentation that to make it give the effect that I want, I just move this transform scale to 97%. So that means when I hover over that item, it's going to shrink just a touch. The other thing we can do, we can play around with all these other options, but first I'm going to show you this option. So I click save, I'm going to click the purple setting icon and find the second save button and exit the Visual Builder, because when we're editing in the Visual Builder, sometimes the effects that we set we cannot preview when we're in the Visual Builder. So now we're just looking at the website as if we were someone visiting the website, and you can see that now it adjusts when we hover over it just like the other blurbs do. So now let's go back in and play with that control, that transform control, and see everything we can do with an item. Now this is where you can spend a lot of your time in your day playing. So you really got to know what you're wanting to do, or have time to play and explore. Otherwise you might become frustrated with all the time you spend on this. So again, I'm going to click design, scroll down to transform, choose the hover option. Now we can kind of play here. I'm not sure what this does. I think it's going to move the item on the X and Y axis when I hover over it. So we don't want to move it too terribly much, because when we hover over it, it's going to move. So we changed, what did we call it? The translate option. So translate means it's going to move, right? And scale means it's just going to shrink or enlarge. So when we play with translate, it's actually going to move the item on the X and Y axis. So again, we did click and save, found the purple settings icon, and then found the second save button. We're exiting the visual builder. Now I've never played with this setting quite like we set it up here. So now when we hover, it shrinks and it moves. See how these ones are just shrinking? Expanding and contracting, expanding and contracting. Now when we hover over this one, it is actually contracting in one specific direction. See, it's contracting to the right because we pulled the toggle to the right in the translate option. Now, with the scale option, it's simply shrinking in on itself and coming back. This translate option actually moves the item to the right. Let's see what else we can do with those controls. I'm going to reset that translate option so we know what the next control does specifically. So I click on the settings wheel, click on design, scroll down to transform, click on hover. Here for the transform translate, I'm going to reset the settings by clicking this undo icon. Now it's no longer there. Now let's take a look at the transform and rotate. This is where we're going to play with its 3D options. Okay, we're gonna oh goodness, look at that. We can tilt it on the different axes. Look at that. Ooh, super cool. Let's get really extreme. No, I don't want to get extreme. Let's just tilt it a little bit. Oh, so this way we're playing with the width. I'm not really excited about that one. I'm really excited about that, how we can kind of angle it. Let's play with that a little bit and see how it reacts. So save and save. Exit Visual Builder. Now we're going to scroll down the page and hover. So first we're going to hover over these traditional transformed items. Now let's hover over this one. Okay, so it's spun. That's pretty rockin'. So it's going to spin and tilt. I think we changed it too much. So if you just want it to spin once, like let's say you have some things for sale and you put icons on your website like a phone, or well, yeah, you could use it on a contact page if you have an envelope linked to an email form or a phone icon that's hovering above a phone number. That might be pretty cool, but you just kind of got to look all over the internet and see what the website trends are. So right now the trends are, oh gosh, what is it called? It's called micro interactions, meaning when you hover over something or you click on something, it makes a noise, or when you hover over something, it moves, right? So those are called micro interactions. Apps do it very well. So, and when I say apps, I'm talking about things on your cell phone. So when you tap an app on your cell phone or your tablet or your desktop with a touch screen and the icon moves, it actually releases dopamine in your brain, and that's how doctors are saying that cell phones can be addictive, because when you tap on an icon or you receive a like in social media, it releases that dopamine in your brain so that you want to be in that app more. You want to pursue those links. Sorry, you want to pursue those likes and social media shares and all that kind of interaction more. So you keep tapping to log in and take a look at your accounts and things. So this movement is called a micro interaction. And other examples are if you submit a support email or a feedback email to say thank you, so those are all called micro interactions. And that is a development of Internet 2.0 or Web 2.0, meaning that the Internet was no longer just a medium for for absorbing information, the internet is now a place where people interact with websites and contribute, right? So that was an example of how to use the hover animation option.